Hi, and welcome to another episode of All Things Considered. Tonight, I'd like to do a video based on a suggestion that a viewer had given me, and his suggestion was I should make a video about how I would appeal to the transplants in Seattle in my mayoral run in 2025. And that's a really good question. Well, for one, I would need to find out what you're looking for. What do you want out of Seattle? If you're a transplant, and see, there's not just all transplants can't be lumped into the same box. There's different types of transplants. You got transplants, people that have came to Seattle on visits, they loved it, and they decided that's where they wanted to retire. So they bought some property and they moved to Seattle. Then you have the transplant that came to Seattle because of a job. They wanted to get a job at Amazon or Microsoft or a tech company. They go to school, they're learning all this computer jive, and they wanted to get a job working in a tech industry, making 100 to maybe 200 grand a year. And they thought Seattle would be the pot of gold at the end of their rainbow. So they picked up and they moved to Seattle. Then you have the other transplants, which are rich, famous actors, such as Tom Skerritt. Tom Skerritt moved to Seattle. He thinks it's a cool place to live. He thinks it's hip and that it's chic. And so he moved to Seattle because of that. Then you have the transplant who wants to go to Seattle because they heard that it's legal to get high there. And they like the idea of being a strung out drug addict. So they moved to Seattle for that reason. Now, I'm lumping everybody that's a drug user into that category of a drug addict. That's not necessarily true. You have your casual drug user that can party a little bit on the weekends. They don't do nothing during the week, but it is still legal for them to get high. So they want to take advantage of it and move there. Now, having said that, each transplant is going to need something different out of the city. And it's going to need something different in the area that they're moving to. And as a mayor, I would have to find out what the base thing is, the base subject that connects every single one of them. Because there's always going to be something, no matter whether you're rich or whether you're poor, there's always going to be that one thing that connects every last one of you. So, for the transplant that came to Seattle looking for retirement, they want to keep the city the same way as it was when they fell in love with it. They don't want it to change, because once you change something, it's no longer enjoyable anymore, and you're not going to want to live there. You're going to want to up and move. You'll think that you made a bad choice and you won't want to stay there. Now, the ones that are moving there for that pot of gold under their rainbow, they're looking for something out of the city too. They want a good nightlife. Now, not all workers are out partying every night and going out to restaurants. Some are working at say, Amazon or Microsoft, or they're working at another tech company, and they're going to school. Oh, and I did not mention that either. There's also the transplant that wants to get a better education and go to school. There's also the transplant that moves to the city because they heard the schools for their kids are really, really good. So they move to Seattle. Well, what you see on paper doesn't always translate that well into real life. It could look really good on a video from YouTube. Oh, the 10 best things about Seattle. Okay. The 10 worst things about Seattle. Well, they're not that bad. The 10 greatest things. Oh, they're great. But you don't see the in-between stuff. Like when I was in Vegas. When I was in Las Vegas, I saw the bright lights and the glitz and the glamour of the casinos. Vegas Strip, Fremont, and all of that. Then I found out that there was a regular part of the city that had low-income people living there. They had trailer parks. They had the Salvation Army shelters, and they had soup kitchens. I did not know about that until I took a stroll around the city and got away from the guts and the glamour. Now, Seattle is a regular city. No matter what it tells you, it is still a regular city. No matter what you want it to be changed into, right now it is still a regular city. Seattle has a lot to offer on its own, but do you want it to change? If I become your mayor, what are you going to need within reason? What will you need from me to make your life easier on you? I want to be able to keep, for the people that moved to Seattle for retirement, the things that you fell in love with, I want to be able to keep them. If it's a park, I want to be able to keep that. If it's the ferry boat rides, I want to be able to keep that. If you fell in love with Pioneer Square, or you fell in love with some of the parks and recreation that's throughout the city, I want to keep that. If it's your favorite store that you found your favorite snack, I want to keep that. For the ones that are moving to Seattle for a job, I want to try to make things easier on you. First of all, I have talked to Amazon. Well, I take that back. I did talk to Amazon. I got Jeff Bezos' email address for ideas to help Amazon. I fired off an email to Amazon or Jeff Bezos. I fired off an email. And in that email, I gave an idea for housing on site, which means that when he builds that great big huge campus that he's going to build, and he's going to build that big huge office tower in Bellevue, if it's not already finished by now, which I have to look into that, I gave him the idea of offering housing to his employees that are moving to Seattle from another state or another city. The housing could be put almost anywhere, and they could be stacked on top of each other. They could be offered to the employee as part of its salary. So when you go to Seattle looking for that pot of gold under the rainbow, you won't have to worry about housing because you'll already be housed once you get there. Sort of like when you're in the military and you're on a base, they have on-base housing for the ones that choose to live there. You can also get a house off campus, but if you want to get your own apartment, you can do that. But if you don't have a place to live and you move to Seattle, that would take a big stress off of you, I would think. Getting a job at Amazon or Microsoft, and they say, okay, you're in apartment 206 or you're in apartment 118, and they give you the keys. When you start working, they give you the keys. You can move right in. I've done videos on this. It's called the O-Pod Tube House or the O-Pod Apartments. And they're about, they say 100 square feet, but I'm not really seeing it. It could be 100 square feet, but it's round like a tube. So it's going to be very difficult to measure that exactly. The front part's about 8 feet long. The back part's about maybe 5 or 6 feet. The shower's in the back with the toilet. There's a door that you could close that can open up to go into the living area. I've posted a video on O-Tube Apartments. If you want to look that up, you'll see that. Now, as far as the transplants that are the rich and the famous moving to Seattle, like Tom Skerritt, the actor, I would say that how can you help better the city? You fell in love with it for a reason, and you wanted to move there for a reason. I would say, could you please help? I'm not asking you to give till it hurts. I'm just asking you to find something in the city that you like a lot that you would be willing to contribute, maybe to help, donate. Maybe it's parks. You could do like they do on the highways where you adopt a highway. If you've got the money, help adopt a park. 2 or 3 of you could adopt the park, and the money would help with the upkeep. I would find out what you're looking for out of the city. What do you expect? Is it just going to be a summer home for you? Is it going to be your home base where you live there all the time? Maybe you want to start up a movie company in Seattle. That would be kind of cool. You could hire some employees to work for you, and it could help put Seattle on the map in a different light than it already is. Now, for the transplant that moved to Seattle for better housing, I would appeal to you by offering the ability to bring down the cost of living so you can go to the grocery store. You could find affordable housing, which if Amazon and Microsoft were to take me up on the O-Tube apartments, those apartments, and the people that are coming to Seattle for jobs, they could live in those, and it would take the stress off the housing market, because there would be a lot of apartments open up, and those apartments could be for families and things that are moving there for a better place to have, for school and stuff. For the transplant that moves there because they want to get high, I am going to put a damper on that, because if I become mayor in 2025, I'm going to tone down the drug use, because I'm not a drug addict. I don't do drugs. I don't mind if you're responsible, but we got to do something, because the drugs on the street, especially the street drugs, the heroin, that's always been a major problem for Seattle. For some reason, it's mostly homeless people. Not all homeless people, but a lot of homeless people become heroin addicts because their life is so horrible that they want to not have to deal with it. And that's the best way they know how. Also, you've got transplants moving to Seattle that are homeless, that find out that Seattle offers something that the place they were at doesn't offer. So they want to go to Seattle and live homeless. Well, I'm going to put the kibosh on that, because we're doing what's known as a workable shelter, where you have to be working on a particular problem that you have, whether it be drugs and alcohol, getting yourself into treatment, whether it be finding a job, whether it be finding adequate housing, or whether it would be going back to school. You could go back to school. Whatever the case may be, you'd have to work on that in these workable shelters. You get 6 months. You have to save up money each month, put it aside for when you do get a chance to move into something better. The money is there for you. So it just depends. How would I appeal to the transplant as a mayor? You can't please everybody all the time. You can't please every single person all the time. But I do believe that there is a common thread amongst everybody that you can latch on to and work your way up from there. Find out what the base need is for them and try to help that become the most easiest to fulfill that need. Whether it be adequate housing, whether it be low-income housing. And I've also worked out something where I would deal with that too. But I'll do that in another video. Plus, I've already talked about some of it in a prior video. So I'm at about 14 minutes. So what I'm going to do is cut that off here. And I'm going to leave you with this note. If you're in Seattle and you're looking at this video by chance, what do you need Seattle to be for you? There is something in your life that Seattle is not doing that you need to be done. So what is it? What is the need that you have? Please put it in the comment below and let me know what it is, and I will see what I can do to talk to you about it. Because there's a lot of things that need to be done that are not getting done, and there's a lot of areas that need to be worked on, and the city council just ain't getting it done. And I don't see the mayor. I'm not down on Jenny Durkin. I think under normal circumstances she'd be okay, but the city council passes the buck and they sweep everything under the rug, and the next city council has to deal with it, and they don't. They step over it, they sweep more stuff under the rug, and they pass more dollars to the next city council. So having said that, remember, make tomorrow better than yesterday by doing the very best you can today. If you like this video, give me a big old thumbs up. And if you want to subscribe, hit the subscribe button. It's right under here. On that note, I wish everybody that comes my direction many blessings, and may you get all that you deserve and then some. If you work hard, enjoy the fruits of your labor. Don't feel guilty about making something that somebody else doesn't have. The reason you have something that they don't is because you did something to get it that they did not. It's okay to care about your neighbor, but you shouldn't lose a whole lot of sleep over something that you can't fix. Have a good night, Seattle, America, and all points beyond. This has been All Things Considered.